Hello everyone, my name is Rahman Shaikh EarningWala and I am currently a level 1 student as well as the assistant facilitator and facilitator of Rehan School Online Academy. So today I welcome you all in my studio. So today we have an amazing guest named Gabe Gabrielle. Uh, he basically lives in uh, Coca, Florida, and he worked at NASA. So let's welcome our today's amazing guest. So, Assalamu alaikum. Hi, sir. How are you?
Hi, good evening to you. Good morning from here. I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much. I just got up. I had a lot of things to do, so I was up really, really late last night. So I just got up so I could do this interview with you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I really enjoy doing these. And again, my name is Gabe. That's a nickname. That's what my friends call me. That's what I ask everyone to call me. It's a pleasure doing
Um,
these interviews, and I've done many, many, and I always look forward to them. So I a little bit about my background. I was a civil structural type of engineer at Kennedy Space Center in Florida for NASA. And I did that for 17 years, and it was absolutely amazing. I really, really loved it. And about 10 years ago, I quit my job at NASA, and I said, okay, I'm going to be a full-time speaker, international speaker. And so for the last 10 years, I've been doing that. I've been to Pakistan 3 times, I believe, and I've really, really enjoyed the time in Pakistan.
okay, that's great to know, sir. Okay, so my first question for is, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York, New York City, New York, New York, which is, we have a state and a city both called New York. So I grew up in New York, New York, but a place called Long Island, which is kind of away from the city, about 100 kilometers from the city. And it's but beaches and it's more rural section with trees and more country type. And that's where I grew up by the beach. And I really love the beach. I've always loved the beach. I actually did get to go to the beach in Pakistan, which was really cool. I thank the people for taking me, but it was a lot of fun to do that. I grew up really hating school and struggling, really struggling bad in everything I did, except for sports. I did well in sports, but everything else I pretty much struggled because I just didn't want to be in school. I hated school. Every facet of school was a negative for me, and a really bad way to look at things looking back on it. But I got through all of that, and eventually I was able to get to university and get a degree in math and science, which enabled me to get the job for NASA as an engineer, and I've been very, very fortunate since then.
Okay, so my next question is basically, what was the journey like to get into NASA?
Uh, it was a really long journey for me, but and if you think about it, if I try to say what was it like to get from the time I thought about going to NASA till I actually went, it was pretty simple. I had been in the Air Force close to Kennedy Space Center at an Air Force base, and I saw the very first shuttle launch, and I'd never seen anything like that in my life, and it was really spectacular. So from that time, I kind of made up my mind. Okay, I wanted to go to NASA when I get out of the Air Force. And I think it was about 8 years later when it came time for me to get out of the Air Force, and I started looking at opportunities to get to NASA or to get to Kennedy Space Center, or even an Air Force base that was adjoining Kennedy Space Center. And I was very fortunate. I found a position, had some friends working there, and they helped me get the job. So it was pretty uneventful, other than just getting the idea in the first place to do it. That was pretty special.
My next question, how does can you tell me that how does NASA handle innovations and cutting edge technology?
I think no different than anywhere else in the world. I think everybody, every organization, everything that's trying to advance is looking for those things, and you've tried to find them. A lot of it is depends on the personnel. Many people want to go to NASA, so NASA has the choice in selecting usually the most qualified people. So most of the people, or many of the people working for NASA, are very qualified because they have so many applicants that they only take the very most qualified. But it's always about people. People have ideas, people have thoughts. To me, everything stems from people. And the thing is to accept these new ways of doing things and accept trying to do something different. And that's how you learn and that's how you advance. So I don't think NASA is any different than anywhere else in that regard, other than they may have a little bit more talented people than the average company because so many highly qualified people apply to NASA.
Uh, yes, of course, because I listen a lots of time the word NASA. So my next question is, can you tell me that what projects have you worked on that you are most proud of?
So me, I look at every day as a new day, a new adventure, and I don't look at anything I've done more important than anything else. I have three objectives, and I talk about them a lot. Do your best, enjoy what you do, believe in yourself. And to me, it doesn't matter. Like when I finish with you with this interview, I have to go outside. I have to do some things around my house. After that, I'm going to go to swim training. Then I have a car I'm going to be working on. So it doesn't matter whether it's that. I approach everything the same way. How well can I do it? And how can I enjoy doing it? I think that's the most key. Anybody can do something. Can you enjoy doing it? That's the challenge. And to do things for NASA or at Kennedy Space Center, every day is a challenge. Every day is a new adventure. Every day in life is a new adventure. I just came back from Brazil. I was in Brazil for 30 days. Every day was totally different than the day preceding it because each day was a new adventure. So I don't look at things as a challenge and as a successful. I deal with roads and bridges and the infrastructure of Kennedy Space Center, but I get to see all the cool things, all the launch complexes, all the buildings where everything is put together. So for me, every day is an adventure. Every day is exciting. Every day is a challenge, and the challenge is to enjoy it and to have fun with it. So I don't look at one day as any more special than the others. There are instances when you do have things that are really, really special, but for the most part, to me, each day is a challenge to enjoy what I do and to do my best.
That's good to know, sir. Okay, so my next question from you is, can you tell me that what kind of challenges you faced while uh, while in learning process?
Yeah, I think the challenge is every day is a challenge. Like for me, when I talk to people all the time. As a civil structural type of engineer, my function at Kennedy Space Center was a little bit different than many people. Usually, as an engineer, and there are many, many types of engineers, when somebody says I'm an engineer, it could mean hundreds and hundreds of things. But in a design engineer, where you're doing designing buildings and fixing infrastructure, that's what I was involved in. So I was responsible for bridges and roads, the infrastructure, the buildings, the roofs, all of those kinds of things. Florida is a peninsula, so which means it's surrounded by water on three sides, and there's many rivers and many lakes through Florida. Most of the flight hardware that comes to Kennedy Space Center comes by truck or it comes by train. So they have to go over bridges that go over water. So if the bridges aren't functioning, then you can't get the space hardware to the space center. So I might go in the morning one day and they say, Gabe, this bridge isn't working. Go figure out why. So I go out to the bridge. I speak with the bridge tender. How come this thing isn't working? We got to try to figure out. Then we try to go, how do we fix it? And then how much does it cost? So for me, that was always an interesting challenge, whether it's a bridge or sometimes it may be a roof is leaking, or sometimes I deal with elevators. Kennedy Space Center has many large, large buildings, and they have special equipment that they need to use to inside those buildings. Well, you can't take them up the stairs. You have to have elevators, and you can't have a regular elevator like you do with people. They're too big. So they have what's called freight elevators. So if freight elevators isn't working, you can't get the equipment up to the top of the building for people to do their job. So I might go in and they say, well, the elevator isn't working. Well, I do the same thing. So for me, it's just the excitement of being on Kennedy Space Center. It's not what you do. If I'm in Karachi, I'm doing the same thing as a civil structural type of engineer as I do at Kennedy Space Center, but it's where you do it that makes it so much fun. You're surrounded by all this magic of the space program. You're at a place where there's ships going to the different planets. You're at a space where we have now, we have a ship going to a star. For the first time, we have a ship going to a star. The star is our sun. So we have all of these magical things around you. So it's not so much what you do, but where you do it that makes it extra special for me.
Okay, great answer. Okay, sir. My next question is, like, how do you define success in your own life?
Uh, that's an interesting question. For me, I love a challenge. So everything I do is a challenge, and I always feel good about my effort. I always feel I'm successful. It doesn't matter what I've done. As long as I've done my best and enjoyed it, I feel I'm successful. Things don't always go as planned. Very seldom do they go as planned. You know, I start the day and I'm thinking I'm going to do this and this, and maybe 10 minutes into the day, everything changes. So that doesn't mean if I have an idea, this is what I'm going to do today, and I don't do it, or I tried to do it and it wasn't accomplished, I don't think I'm not successful. I think I've done the best I can. I've learned something, and I'll take that knowledge with me and go forward. So my life is filled with successes. I have no negatives, and just because things haven't gone my way, I don't think it's. I never say fail. I never fail. I don't think anybody fails. I call it a learning experience. When you do something, it doesn't go as you expected, you learn a lot. You don't fail. You take that knowledge forward with you, you apply it to the next instance, and hopefully you accomplish what you want the next time. But I never think non-successful. As long as I've done my best and as long as I've enjoyed the process, then I feel I'm successful.
Yeah, you are right, sir. Okay. Now, my next question is, what inspired you to pursue a career in space science or engineering?
And engineering was really, really interesting. I was driving a truck. As I mentioned earlier, I did terrible in school, so I really didn't have any opportunities to get any decent jobs. My first job was working at McDonald's, and from McDonald's, I graduated into driving cars and driving trucks. And I was driving a truck, and I really enjoyed driving the truck, but I just something was, I don't know what it was, but in my mind, this isn't something I wanted to do forever, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no clue. For those of you who know what you like to do, you are so fortunate. You can just go do it. For so many like me, we didn't know what we want to do. It's really hard to do something when you don't know what it is. And I was always fighting with my parents. My parents said, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to the beach." "No, you got to get a job." "I'm going to play sports." "No, you got to get a job." So I'm always fighting with my parents about what I'm going to do. I really didn't know. So it's really a struggle. So I was driving this truck, and this friend of mine, we were playing sports together, and he said to me, "Have you ever thought about going into engineering?" I have no idea why he said that. I don't know what motivated him to say that, but he put this thought in my head that, well, maybe I could go into engineering. And I met some people who had been to university, who had been engineers, and I kind of thought, well, I they can do it. I know I can do it. So that kind of gave me the idea to get into engineering, to get into the NASA at Kennedy Space Center. I was in the I was in the Air Force close to Kennedy Space Center, and I saw the first shuttle launch. And I was in engineering at that time, and I saw the first shuttle launch, and I thought, wow, that's really, really something special. When I get out of the Air Force, I'm going to try to get a job for NASA and get involved in this kind of career. So that's kind of how it unfolded, and it was all kind of by accident. But again, for me, I try to go with life kind of leads me. I don't have any great plans to do this or do that. I get every morning thinking I'm going to do something, and then life takes me along, and I enjoyed the journey. That's the most important thing for me.
Okay, sir. Yes, you are right. Now, my next question is, how do you balance innovation and safety in your projects?
Well, ultimately, safety is the most important thing. I think, in any time you're involved with flight hardware, or you're involved with space travel, or any kind of thing that really is very, very dangerous, you have to be safety conscious, and you have to be constantly safety conscious. Launching a rocket ship is very, very complicated, and there's many hundreds of people that go into this process, and you have to be safe. You want, especially if there's astronauts involved, you want to be, everything has to be go towards the safety of the astronauts. And I think with Kennedy Space, or especially with NASA is definitely, to me, very safety conscious. Maybe too much so, to in a way, because it slows things down. But I think you have to always put the people first. There's anything going to harm people, we shouldn't do it. There's always going to be an element of risk, and you want to minimize that as much as possible. But I think safety is most important for people and for their well-being.
So my next question is, how does NASA prepare for mission to Mars or beyond?
Yeah, a lot of training, a lot of training, a lot of practice, a lot of testing. All of those things go into the preparation before you actually go. Actually, I think NASA could probably go to Mars and come back. Now, the big challenge with going to Mars is because of the way the planets go around the sun. When you leave to go to Mars, the planets are like this, and they're rotating around the sun. And when you land, they're like this, and it takes 23 months before they're close enough to come back. So you've got to go to Mars and stay on Mars for 23 months, and this is a huge challenge. You can't breathe the air, you can't drink the water, the weather is terrible. Radiation is a huge problem because Mars's atmosphere is thin, so the radiation from the sun is very, very bad on Mars. So all of these things have to factor into it, and I think it's just a matter of test and evaluation. You try something, see if it works. If it works, then you go on to the next step. But it's a constant building process. But the idea to go to Mars and to come back is not as, to me, as challenging as trying to survive on Mars for those 23 months. And that's what they're looking at now. How are they going to do that? They have rovers exploring Mars. They have satellites exploring Mars. They're monitoring weather. They're monitoring all of the things that astronauts will have to deal with while they're there. So it's a big learning curve, and learning through test and evaluation, maybe.
Okay, sir. My next question is, what's the most fascinating thing you have learned about space?
It, I think that you never have, you learn that you don't know anything. I think the more you understand it, the more you understand you don't know anything. You know, I'm an engineer, so it's hard for me to get into astronomy measurements. And astronomers talk a thing about being light years away. Light years of distance. It's 10 trillion kilometers. One light year, 10 trillion kilometers. And astronomers talk a thing about being millions of light years away. So my mind cannot really grasp the magnitude of these millions of light years in distance. I just can't grasp it. I think it's fascinating to think that, our solar system is just a tiny, tiny little blip in the universe, and even our galaxy is a tiny little blip in our universe, and the universe is so vast, and it's ever expanding. So I think just to me that the vastness of it, the magnitude of it, I think it's fascinating. I'm really fascinated, but I don't really understand it because my mind doesn't really go in those directions. But I think it's fascinating, and I really enjoy it. And I've gotten a lot more involved with students like you. You ask me questions, and I have to try to find out answers. So I learn a lot that way, and I think it's fascinating.
Okay, sir. Okay, so my next question is, one word to describe your journey so far. So, what would be the word is?
Exciting. My life is exciting. Every minute of every day is fun. Every minute of every day is an adventure. It's just so exciting and so much fun. I'm enjoying it tremendously, minute by minute. Everything I do, I'm having fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm speaking with you. It's a huge, huge thing for me. It's exciting. It's fun. I don't do it just to do it. I do it to have an opportunity to speak with you, to get to know you. And for me, it's exciting. Anytime I meet somebody new, anytime I have a chance to be around anybody, and I learn from you. I learn a lot from you. So I would pick one word. It would be exciting.
Yes, sir, you are right. Okay, so my next question is, if you were not at NASA, what would you be doing nowadays?
Uh, I'd either be racing cars or I'd be on the beach. I'd be doing one of those two things. So I actually not at NASA now. I quit NASA 10 years ago to become a full-time speaker. But if I wasn't doing speaking and I wasn't doing really anything, I race cars. So I'm doing many, many different things. But ultimately, I would go to the beach and hang out in the sunshine.
Uh, yes. It's I think that it's an adventure.
Yes.
Okay, so my next question is, can you tell me that what uh, can you tell a simple lesson which you learned from your life?
I think the biggest lesson I have in life is to enjoy it. You really want to enjoy everything at one day at a time, and people don't understand. I always talk about those three things: do your best, enjoy what you do, believe in yourself. You can have a life with no stress, no pressure, and never work. Nothing is ever hard. And I think the objective with me is to enjoy every minute of every day. It doesn't matter where I do. I've been to 18 countries around the world speaking at schools and speaking at different events. It doesn't matter the country, it doesn't matter the age. The challenge is to enjoy it all. And that's my main objective, is to enjoy it all and to be thankful. I'm thankful every minute of every day. I realize I have it pretty good compared to many other people, and I try to share that any way I can. So I'm thankful, and I'm very, very optimistic about each day, and I just have fun with life, and I want others to understand you can do that as well. If after we're done speaking, uh, and I have got in your mind to remember those three things, I'll feel really good because I'll know you'll no longer have stress, you'll no longer have pressure. You can be very successful and have fun. Nobody tells you that. They always tell you you must work hard. You hear that over: work hard, work hard. And anybody who's successful says, I'm successful because I worked hard. Well, work and hard are pretty much double negatives. No people like those two things. So why put that in your mindset? Why not instead enjoy it and have fun doing it? Either way, you're going to do the same thing. Just learn to think about it differently. And I think that's what I do. I find ways to find positives and enjoy everything I do. I never have a negative. Anytime something might not be so good, I say to myself, could be worse. And then it becomes a positive. So I never experience negatives. And that's what I try to do every day. It doesn't matter what I do, where I am. It's the same thing, to try to enjoy the day and be thankful for whatever the day brings me.
My next question is, what motivates you to keep moving forward during tough times?
I love a challenge. So I think when you say tough times, I never say tough times. I say challenging times, and I love the challenge. And the challenge is always to enjoy whatever it is, and the sense of accomplishment, I think, is what motivates me. I was in Brazil for 30 days, and I severely injured my knee before I went to Brazil. And so when I left from Brazil, I thought, wow, I can't walk. How am I going to be doing this for 30 days? So what I said to myself, okay, I probably can't do this 30 days, but I can do it for one day. No matter what happens, I can do it for one day. So I approached the 30 days in Brazil not as 30 days, but as one day 30 times. So each day was an adventure independent from the next one. And that's how I went through it, one day at a time, and enjoying the day. No matter what happened, if I couldn't walk, if somebody had helped me get from one place to another, it didn't matter. I enjoyed that. And I did that every day. And I apply that to everything in my life: is how can I enjoy, how can I be thankful? People think, oh, this didn't go the way I want, I'm miserable, I'm sad. uh, to me, okay, it didn't go the way I want. How can I still enjoy it? What can I learn from it? And how can I take that knowledge with me so the next time I find myself in a similar situation, I'm better prepared? So for me, it's always about staying in the present, enjoying what you do, and being thankful. This is, to me, what life can be. And you can be very successful doing this.
Yes, sir, you are right. Now, my next question is, as you listen a lots of time about AI, so can you tell me that how much AI is going to be important in future?
Yeah, I don't think we know how much that's going to be important in the future. I think it certainly is going to be important, but AI is, it's evolving right now. This is the beginning of the AI mentality of, how can we help ourselves through artificial intelligence, through other means other than our own thinking. And I'm not really into it too much. I understand it. I don't know too much about it, but I know a lot of friends who do. And when they talk about it, it's kind of fascinating to me to think about what might the future might bring. But I always say we never want to forget people. People are the most important asset. I don't care what AI does without people. We're not going to have AI, and we're not going to develop AI. So I sometimes think too much attention is devoted towards AI and not enough towards the people involved with creating AI. But I think it's limitless. I think, in the future, we're going to have many things being done through AI that people are doing now, and they can do it better, more efficiently, and it will help the process. And I'm not too concerned about AI taking jobs away from people, because usually other jobs will be created, different types of jobs. But I think it's fascinating, and I think it's limitless. And the only thing slowing us down is our own ability to advance.
Okay, so that's great to know. Now, my last question is like, what kind of international collaborations does NASA engage in?
Oh, I think NASA, one of the forefront for me about NASA, I've been involved with NASA probably now since the, the 80s. So many, many years I've been involved in NASA. And I think the most impressive thing with me in the beginning, when I first started getting involved with NASA, was how they share everything. NASA is really a space exploration agency, and NASA had the ability many, many years ago to do things other countries and other companies can't do. Now, many of the companies, many of the countries are catching up with NASA. NASA is not only the only thing out there. You look at India, look at China, look at Japan. You look at the European nations. They're doing many, many things that are advancing, as is NASA. So I think the idea to me is always, NASA shares everything. They've always shared everything, all of the space knowledge, and with the International Space Station, what's a great idea. We had 16 countries around the world came together, all with a common goal. These 16 countries, each country built a module to go to space to create a space station. And so it was really fascinating that you had 16 countries getting along. No wars, no fighting, no, arguing. Look, we have this common goal. Let's get together. Let's solve this common goal. And and I think that's the most fascinating thing, the ability to get along and help each other. I'm not sure it's as open as it was many, many years ago, but I think still most space agencies share a certain amount of knowledge. And in the end, I think everybody benefits.
Yes, great to know that 16 countries uh, worked on this activity. So, in last, what message would you like to give to students and young dreamers watching this?
Yeah. So first of all, I think anything is possible. Anything is possible. And if you have a dream, you take that dream, you write it down, you make it your goal, and you ask yourself, what steps do I take to achieve it? And you want to plan small steps, very small step. Don't be in a hurry. Every time you complete a step, it will help you develop confidence and a belief in yourself. And remember those three things: do your best, enjoy what you do, believe in yourself. Doing your best is easy. Challenge yourself. I don't care what it is. In this interview, do your best. I'm trying to do my best. I challenge myself with everything. Enjoy everything you do. We can do this interview. We can do looking at the clock. Is it time to, or we can just have fun doing it. Enjoy everything we do. If you can't find something positive, say it could be worse. Always feel good about yourself and your effort. And that most important thing, believe in yourself. Very, very few people have that belief. That's why they have stress. That's why they have pressure. And you get that belief by establishing goals. You take that dream, you write it down, you make it your goal, and you plan the steps to achieve it. And you build that confidence, you build that belief in yourself, and you build and you build. And one day you will say to yourself, I can do anything. When you believe you can do anything, you'll never have stress. You'll never have pressure. You just go do it because you believe you can. And when you enjoy it, you do it better. So that's always my message to everybody listening. Anytime I have a chance to share it, I think it's so simple. It's 100% mental. You're going to do the same thing the same way. You just want to learn to think about it differently. If you get your mind in that positive state, everything else will follow.
Yes, sir, you are right. So, thanks a lot, sir, for being part of my today's interview. And thank you very much for giving me your precious time and coming in my studio.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. The interview was great. You got a great smile. I think you should share it a little bit more often, but it really is a pleasure. Hopefully, when I come back to Pakistan, maybe in October, November timeframe, I'll get to meet you in person.
Yes, sir. Why not? So thanks once again,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
So
You're
the
very
audience,
welcome. Ciao, ciao to everybody.
bye bye, sir. So the audience, this is our
Bye.
today's interview. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learn a lot from today's interview. So we'll meet inshallah again soon. So till then, take care of yourself. Stay tuned with us, and bye.